And hello, all of you. Hope all of you are well. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing all right, generally speaking. Hope you're all surviving well on this. It was supposed to be a nightmare rainstorm here in the Pacific Northwest, and it has not been, to say the least. But I wanted to jump on stream tonight because I've been getting a whole bunch of suggestions. Hello, Cookie Monster. I love that shirt. I love this shirt. I'm too fat for it slightly, so, but I don't care because it makes my daughter smile. So fuck you. My daughters. I've got kids are fascinating. When you have them, it's a shuffle of the cards. You never quite know like personalities or how they're going to sort of come out with things or what they're going to come out with. And Dexter is exceptionally beautifully sensitive. Which is a part of my personality for sure, but to like a level that's like I'm envious of. I've told this story, but the first time he ever watched me play Mario, when I landed on a Koopa Trooper and killed him, he burst out crying because I killed his. Why didn't you make friends? And it's a fair question why I didn't make friends with the Koopa Troopa. Conversely, Violet is obsessed with Chucky from Child's Play, and she's 3, and she's obsessed with nightmare dolls, yeah, it's a different beast, different thing. Kids are fascinating. There's jizz on the mic. There's not jizz on the mic, although that would be great if there were. No, this is glue from It's a Long Story. No jizz, sadly. I know. My house is not nearly that exciting. What can I say? I'm no Vosh. What can I say? Rick's just working on stuff for finals week, hoping I won't have to do much editing statement purpose of my graduate school application. Well, best of luck for that. Best of luck with all that. Yeah. Glue from A Long Story. My kids have this snake. It's a mechanical snake. It was at the fucking dollar store. But again, Dexter, being the sensitive child he is, nothing can get thrown out. So he was shaking it and chasing his sister around. She was laughing. It's fine. And he broke it. So he burst into tears. So I had to spend an exceptionally long amount of time slowly cleaning up this snake, putting the plastic pieces back together with my shaky fucking hands. I have bad shake hands. Like, not everyone has shaky hands, but I have bad shake hands. And that took way too long. And I ended up getting glue everywhere. And then help came, and now I have glue in a lot of places I didn't want. Nightmare dolls, Living Dead dolls. I have no idea. I literally have no idea what any of this shit is. It's like an ugly doll, but like big. Its name is Nightmare. That's why she likes it, because she likes nightmare things. That's my kid. That's my kid. She doesn't know what I got her for Christmas yet, and that'll be fun to share with everyone. She's into rubber ducks. And she's into Chucky. And if you didn't know, there are plush Chucky ducks. It's called a Chucky. I'm not, it's a rubber Chucky. It's a real thing. She's going to lose her mind. I'm super excited I found it. Today is going to be, I got a lot of, I fix a lot of toys for him because Dexter is that. He's very sensitive, and I have no desire to discourage that in any capacity. So there are things I can't fix. He got to watch me break my Steam Deck, my own Steam Deck. I gave him his own new one. I broke my Steam Deck trying to replace the screen. So he watched that happen, and he got to watch me try to fix it and then fix it. So he's learning you don't throw things away. It's good to care about stuff, but it is a little bit much because we live in a disposable world. And so he's having to reconcile that sort of reality of things. So it's a very different existence. And, again, I'm a sensitive fuck. Heather as well. And Violet is too, but Violet's also really into scary movies. There's a movie called Sketch, which if you haven't seen it, it's like, I think it's fucking great. It's not Ghostbusters brilliant, but it's that type of thing where it's like a light comedy, good for like, kids-ish, but also great for adults. Really funny, dark humor, scary moments, like genuinely kind of like shock, like good moments. And he's Dexter, who's 5 years older, almost 5 years older, just doesn't, he likes it, but it's a lot for him. We watched the beginning of The Hobbit and it was too much for him. So, but Violet, she'll watch it. She's watched it 1,000 times. She thinks it's the best thing when like these monsters start trying to kill a child. That's my kid. Well, let's get to it. Let's get to what we're doing today. So we have a handful of videos that I have been recommended, and here's how it's going to work. Okay. Slowly you can see my PC refresh is being fixed. My local vocal subtitles are working again. They're not perfect. I don't care. The point was jank. The point was jank. The 5-year-old, the 3-year-old, Violet's 3. And it is, hearing her say, Chucky is mean because he kills people with an axe is adorable in a really weird way. No, we don't have slurs in our house. Jesus Christ, Estelle. Damn it. Again, not Vosh. But here are the videos today. And here's how this is going to work. There's a few that I actually want to go through. Okay. There's a few that I want to go through because I've been on an economics kick. You mean the subtitles? Oh, God. Okay. Estelle is referring to a fun moment in one of our VODs that is still up. You can go find it, where the local vocal subtitles thought I said the N-word. I did not. But it did that 2 or 3 times. It was pretty great. So I find it funny. I want to talk through a couple of videos. I've been on an economics kick, and so you're going to end up getting rabbit holes galore on all of this. There's a couple of bad economics videos, more than a few. And I'm also throwing something else in the mix because if we hit a donation goal, $100 today, little to get those tips out there, memberships, whatever, get me to $100, we'll do that video. I'm going to share what they are. So first off, we have this guy. This is Tom Bilyeu. He sucks. He sucks hard. This video is called The Housing Collapse is Way Worse Than 2008 and They're Hiding It. Here is what Dan's videos usually look like. Hello, I am a right-winger libertarian and etc. He sucks. But he sucks in a great way because he is not stupid. He's able to draw things together in a really particularly interesting way. They're all reactionary bad economics, but it's a great way to go, hey, this is bullshit. Here's why, and giving me a chance to explain. So it's like a teaching video. I love Tom for that. Then we've got Giannis. Giannis did this talk. It's about 18 minutes long, and it is really bad. Like Giannis is, Giannis sucks. Giannis sucks. My captions are saying I'm a right-winger libertarian. Over and over and over. It's broken again. I don't care. I like the jank. I'm leaving it. Let me see if I can fix it. Actually, let me see if I can fix this because that's fucking great, but I don't want it doing that for an hour. Giannis is not real Marxist. Oh, if you didn't see earlier, Peter Coffin referred to me as not a real Marxist, which is probably fucking fair, but still. Let's see. Why is this doing stupid shit? Why is this doing stupid shit? Let's see if it refreshes when I do this. It's probably going to freeze during live shit. Let's see. Did it do it? Yeah, that refreshed it. Good. So, yeah, it's a... But Giannis's video and speech here is capitalism is mutated into something far more sinister. Shows he doesn't understand what capitalism is. And I love that because it's a great way for me to, again, have a sort of stalking horse or something I can beat up a little bit in order to talk about. Then we've got this guy, Drew Gooden, 5 million subs. Greed is destroying the world. Haven't watched this either. These are all about 20, 30-minute videos. These are not super long. These are not gigantic. One of these is. The next one is. But Drew Gooden's video got recommended, and it's a decent analysis with terrible history and poor forward thinking. Another great example of something we can use to build forward. Love that. If we hit that money, this was posted, and I think it's a fair thing for me to continually sit out there because people have actually made the joke before that I should do this. If you haven't watched Jenny Nicholson, I like Jenny. I think she's great. I've enjoyed some of her streams before. This is her exceptionally, excruciatingly deep dive into the Avatar theme park. It's old, but this would be fun. This would be fun to do. I think it would be fun to do. So do a few of you fucking people. Because reasons. Absolutely not. Yeah, Cosmo, you're free to disagree. That's fine too. The Over the Warrior philosopher Nick Land interview. I'm not doing Nick Land. Nick Land is just too depressing. So we're going to start with our buddy Tom here. And as we go, we'll see where we end up. That's about it. I think that's all I've got today. I appreciate everyone for joining. It's always nice to have a bunch of you. We're 65 strong. So let's get into some bad economics. If you like what I do, patreon.com/DGQC. You can join me live for our readings multiple days a week and a bunch of people shitting on my readings and all that in the Discord. Discord.gg/DGQC. Let's do it, Tom. Let's hear about how awful things are.
In 2009, after a historic housing market collapse, the median home price in the U.S. fell to a reasonable $208,400. But since then, prices have more than doubled. We now have the lowest home affordability since 1984, even worse than at the peak of the 2006 housing bubble. In 2024, the median U.S. home price hit $420,000, an all-time high,
Super
while
chatted
real
$20.
wages stayed
OK has
flat
$20 for
the
new
fifth year
Christmas
straight.
toys.
In over 90
Still don't get to hear that. I still don't get to hear that when it happens. I was so ready. Caleb, thank you, by the way, for the $20. I don't get to hear it, but say thank you. And the Christmas toys, well, I mean, that paid for the Chucky Ducky, which, by the way, is awesome. I'm just going to show it to you because I don't give a fuck. It's not like my daughter watches me. I couldn't believe I found this. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was laughing so hard. This guy I'm not interested in.
Yo, Chucky!
This is, don't care. That's she's super into fucking rubber ducks and Chucky. And it's literally just perfect. It's perfect. You don't understand. She loves Chucky. All because of Fanta. Fanta. It's not a joke. If you don't know, Fanta did a big thing recently, actually. where over Halloween they had a whole bunch of different things sort of popping in, right? That's the setup. They had a Chucky face on one of the Halloween things. That was it. That's all it took. Yes, the soda. She saw Chucky because it was called Chucky Punch. She asked what it was. I explained innocently, and then now it's her entire life. I'm changing the model. It's stuck on, hey, I do want to thank Caleb that much, so that works. But we're going to actually switch the model out for this, see if it works a little bit better. Give it a second. See if that works a little bit better. We'll find out when it starts running, actually. Yeah.
99% of U.S. counties, the average home is now officially classified as unaffordable for the median worker. In 1985, the typical first-time buyer needed just 5 years to save a 20% down payment. Today, that number is 13.5 years. That's the longest timeline ever recorded. The average mortgage payment has jumped 113% just since 2020, and that is the fastest affordability collapse in American history.
I mean, you are talking about literally a quarter.
Average mortgage payment has jumped timeline ever recorded. The average mortgage payment has jumped 113% just since 2020, and that is the fastest affordability collapse in American history. Boomers are sitting on roughly $12 trillion in home equity. Most of it, though, is locked behind sub 3% mortgages that they're never going to give up. Institutional investors like BlackRock and Invitation Homes have spent over $60 billion quietly hoovering up homes the public never even saw listed. For the first time in U.S. history, the majority of adults under 40 believe they will never own a home.
Yes.
And here's the part no one wants to say out loud. This isn't a collapse of prices. It's a collapse of opportunity. A society where 70% of future adults will never own property is not a stable society. When people don't own anything, they don't feel invested in anything because they're not. And when they don't feel that they're invested, when quite frankly, they aren't invested, they walk away.
This is, by the way, the reason it's very, very difficult for people not to get sucked down the right-wing pipeline. Period. Nothing he said here is incorrect. Nothing. I could quibble about some minor amounts of the stats probably. I could go in and like nitpick. But generally speaking, he's spot on. He's able to identify the problem. Very much. But the running joke, if it left his circles for a very long time, is I was sitting at a bar. This guy walks in, we're drinking, and he starts going, you know, the bank is taking my house. Fucking bank. I hate the banks. And I go, yeah, the banks, it's awful what they're doing with their interest rates and how they are able to just invent money. He goes, yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. They keep taking, and the companies are ridiculous. The way that they're able to just get all the loans that they want and buy these houses, and it turns them into company land. It's ridiculous. And I go, fuck yeah, that's absolutely true. It's ridiculous that the companies are able to do this. I fucking hate it. And he goes, absolutely. And on top of it, the government, the state gets involved, and they're going to sit here and they're going to control things and make sure that the big guy wins and the little guy loses. And I go, absolutely. Absolutely. We need to work towards larger scale local involvement of people and make sure that we're able to nationalize or even remove commodification from multiple things. And he looks at me confused and he goes, no, we need to kill the Jews. Identifying problems isn't the thing. Identifying problems is not politically interesting or useful at all. Identifying problems is pointless. Solutions are what matter. Solutions are what matter. Solutions. And that's where the rub is.
Or they just burn it all down. This isn't a housing bubble that's going to pop that you can take advantage of. It's a financial chokehold created by money printing, policy failure.
See?
boomer era incentives, and corporate consolidation. And
You know, the first one, gold standard shit.
it's already causing problems, just not in the way that most people think. This is worse than 2008, but for those paying attention, there's always going to be a way to make the situation work to your advantage, even if we can't help everyone. We're going to cover
Everything's falling apart. Let me give you the right-wing grift, but here's how you personally can actually benefit from this nightmare. Yeah, August, exactly. Even liberals often agree with the problems. They're just invested in the system in a way that means they can't actually critique the systems that create the problem. Is it doing the repeating thing again? Nope, good.
that in part 3. But if you don't understand part 1, you're not going to do what's necessary. And if you want to know who to blame, I've got you covered in part 2. So welcome to part 1. What the hell happened? And
Do you want to know how bad history and bad economics can sort of merge?
how did housing kill the American dream? Home building has fallen 39% since the 1970s,
This is true.
even though America added over 130 million people.
Yeah.
Single-family housing construction is down so badly that the U.S. is short an estimated 3.2 million homes, and that number is growing every year.
That's weird, right? That a lot of people want to buy homes. We have an exceptional shortfall. We also have an extraordinary number of homes that are just empty. He's not mentioning that because that would imply that prices are artificially high. And then you'd start asking, but wait, are home builders and home lenders the same people? They are? Well, then wait, their incentive would then be to maintain high prices and scarcity. So they would actually be deeply incentivized not to build more affordable homes. Huh. That's weird. Don't ask that question, though.
Private equity firms now own 1 of every 6 single-family homes in many major cities. Due to 15 years of near zero interest rates, the older people who were already
Skipping parts, man. Skipping parts of the process. It's kind of a big fucking deal. Okay. So, really low interest rates meant that people could borrow money, especially very large companies and banks, for silly, tiny amounts of interest, and then basically reloan that out for profit to companies and other things. Facebook, Meta had huge loans. Microsoft, most companies were running huge deficits in loans because that's how you kind of do stuff. Entertainment is generally done this way. It's massive loans and complex financial structures that enable very big singular things to sort of get off the ground. Movies, TV shows, other stuff. You don't just have like a pile of money you give someone. There's a process for it. Loans are incredibly important to the entire process. The thing was, those loans enabled money to circulate. There's an old line, I don't know if it was Barth's, who said that, I can't remember exactly who it was. You're always required to pay back a loan. They're never required to loan. That challenge, I think, puts us in exactly the issue I'm talking about, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? I'm hoping it makes sense. Should bet on if he references the book Abundance. Is this a bot? Run to Raider may be a bot. Run to Raider may be a bot. Run to Raider, type something other than what you're doing, and then we'll just ban them. There you go. Thank you, Estelle.
already able to afford a home locked in a historically low interest rate and multiplied their wealth through appreciation due to inflation, while young people have simply gotten priced out.
See, it's incorrect. Inflation being high actually works in favor of those who have debt. Uh, Money the money you get now being worth more than the money you took out in loan meant you can pay debts off easier. So it's he doesn't connect these dots in a way that's sophisticated at all, but he's getting the buzzwords in.
And to make matters worse, we now have the fewest homes for sale per capita in all of recorded US history. In the 70s and 80s, your parents bought a home for roughly 2 to 3 times their annual income. Today,
Oh, okay. You enjoy your icons.
it's roughly double that for most young people, putting homes entirely out of reach for all but the wealthiest few.
Just so you know, homes were out of reach for all but the wealthiest few before. Home ownership's not like a long tradition in America. It's a very interesting thing for him to consider.
Formula that originally built the middle class, the very American dream. Get a job, buy a house, build equity. Not only stopped working, it just outright died. Most people still think the housing crisis is just the natural outcome of supply and demand, but it is not. It is the outcome of decades of policies, incentives, and political cowardice that slowly, and then suddenly, turned the most important asset in America into a scarcity machine.
Prior to World War II, it was actually very normal for working families to rent. So you're talking about like the ability to own a home really started for white lower middle class people in that era, but you're not talking about a massive increase. Like you're just not talking about a massive increase in terms of people who own versus anything else. You're talking about like one sec. You're talking about in the time frame. One sec. I just want to pull up home ownership rates because so it's like 40% home ownership rate in 1940. Working class families rented and all of that. And oh look, if you start looking at things, it's things like VA loans, FHA. Oh yeah, that's about white people. It's about white people. That's great.
To understand how the dream collapsed, you have to understand the sequence, the era of cheap money, the obsession with housing as an investment, the zoning laws that choke supply, the globalization that stalled wages, and the corporate takeover that ultimately
he might be bringing up
details.
He might
For
be bringing
more
up Ezra
than
Klein.
100 years, the path to the middle class was remarkably straightforward. You went to school, you got a job, you bought a house, and if you saved your pennies, your life improved year after year.
This is the case for one generation that lasted about 10 years. This is a really wild narrative to say
the middle
this way.
class was remarkably straightforward.
Wait, how long does he say
And the
this?
corporate takeover that ultimately finished the job. Let's look at the details. For more than 100 years, the path to the middle class was remarkably straightforward.
No, absolutely not the case. Most people didn't buy homes, especially working class families didn't buy homes until the GI Bill was a thing. And after the GI Bill wasn't a thing, they didn't do that. Their kids may have, but again, the kids got that wealth transfer and were able to do such a thing. That's the generation. It's people born like that's it. You grew up by being a baby boomer, and in about that 10-year time, you'd go to college, you'd finish, you'd go work, you'd be done. And that thing he's talking about was 10 years. That wasn't into the 90s. Gen X was already running into problems buying homes in the 90s. 2000s, it was already going away with, the big housing boom, then crash doesn't count if you're going to be talking about this. So it's incredibly shit. This is shit. This is shit analysis. It's just not true. 100 years? What does he think poor people were doing prior to the New Deal, prior to unions? What the fuck? Have I heard of Damon Cassidy? Oh, God. Damon Cassidy. Oh, no. I'll look into it. I'm always nervous. I'm sure he's fine or not. I can't tell.
Forward. You went to school.
There wasn't a big middle class in the 1910s. There wasn't a big middle class in America until the GI Bill, and then it went away again. Like, it was literally like about 10 or 15 years that we had a real middle class that was effective. It's insane. And again, those people were generally not the most effective politically and destroyed themselves. So
You got a job, you bought a house, and if you saved your pennies, your life improved year after year. If you passed on your house, or at least some
this is an insane thing to talk about because there hasn't been a generational wealth transfer yet of significance. There just hasn't. The closest it comes is my parents' generation, the boomers. They had some level of that transfer to them, but most of them, it went right away. The generation of wealth transfer is upcoming, and they're hanging on as long as they fucking can. But this is not true. There hasn't been a generational transfer of wealth. That doesn't exist yet.
shekels when you died, odds were
Dog whistle.
if you passed on your house, or at least some
Do you want to know what a dog whistle is, anyone?
life improved year after
See if
year.
you see it.
If you passed on your house, or at least some shekels when you died, odds were, in the end, your kids were going to be even better off than you were. That upward trajectory was baked into the very structure of the economy.
No, not in any capacity is this true. This is laughable in a lot of ways. None of this existed in a meaningful sense anywhere. Again, about 10 years, a very particular subset of Americans were able to do this, but home ownership didn't grow from like 40% to 90% in 20 years. It grew from like 40% to like 52%. It's a very small subset of Americans that were able to take advantage of this. Leave it to disgruntled white Gen Xers to be like, but I didn't get to take part in it, and it's all bad.
Real wages were going up. Our debt
It's barely a dog whistle. Yeah, that's fair. That's true. That's true.
was reasonable, entitlements were manageable, and America was taking advantage of its status as the world's manufacturing hub after World War II.
No, not really. Like, I mean, that's just not true either. Like, manufacturing began to be taken away from the Americas in the end of the 60s to the 70s, and then by the 80s, it was gone. Like, again, about 10 years that you're talking about. Prior to that, like, sure, we ruled the world of textiles like cotton or tobacco. Cotton and tobacco. Cotton and tobacco. Not great examples. Not great examples.
But little did we know, a fuse had been lit in 1913 when the government
Okay. All right. That's how it goes.
created a central bank, giving it the ability to counterfeit its own money through a process.
That's, again, less a dog whistle at that point. Once you've said that this is counterfeiting. Counterfeiting.
Called money printing, and that changed everything. And as more and more money was printed, owning a home went from a bonus to compulsory.
See, again, the narrative being drawn here is insane. It's so wild when they start putting these pieces together, and again, doing it in a way that is screaming, I want to lower the age of consent. That's what it yells to me. What can I say? The way he's going about this is just the mythology created by that Austrian bullshit school of economics that just didn't understand and doesn't care about past actual nightmares, right? Like, prior to this 1913 thing, runs on banks and severe deflation were real normal. There was chaos economically. The economy was too complex at this point already, and it had been for 50 years at this point. It's too complex for having a gold standard. That's the end of that. It's just too much to have a gold standard. It's wild. It's just a wild mentality. And it's, again, ideologically loaded language throughout it. The delirium of his narrative and his story is so painful. He's not doing economic analysis here. Every major economy has a central bank now because the disaster, nightmare, chaos that was the gold standard, banking panics every 2 or 3 years, severe recessions, like grand level recessions across all kinds of things. The monetary policy around it, because it was gold, which meant, there's a whole bunch of other regulations you have to worry about, like destroyed the ability to actually regulate real crises. And the actual movement of gold, because gold is not just only used for this thing, created an insane amount of instability in multiple countries. It's fucking insane as a concept to even talk about this. It's insane to talk about things this way. It's wild to have this conversation. In today's, this is what happens when you talk to ChatGPT and you ask it, like, hey, tell me where I'm right. And it's like, oh yeah, you're right. Because this is not real. This is not real. This is just absurd, flatly. Just stupid. It's just stupid. God damn it. These fucking people, man.
For a while, that was absolutely fine because people intuitively understand a house as an asset. You can live in it, raise your kids in it, and it protects you from the weather and inflation.
Intuitively, people understand it protects you from the weather and inflation. No. That's an intuitive thing that happens, apparently, to him. It's intuitive.
No one needed a financial advisor to explain a house to them. As debt and money printed started getting used as a cure-all, however, we were forced to break the final tether to gold in 1971, which opened up Pandora's box, and you are still suffering from this in ways that...
What I love about these people who don't understand how actual economics works is they think like the Bretton shit is where the final tether was, when domestically FDR got rid of the gold standard like fucking 50 years fucking before. Like it's just, oh, the last tether, and that's because there's a 71 in the number. You add 7 and 1 to 8, and 8 rhymes with hate, and I hate the fact that we do like it. They're just anything to piece it together. Like, fuck me. Like Nixon and Bretton Woods had nothing to do with any major economic collapse that followed. It's just stupid. It's just narrative bullshit. It's wild. God.
That most people do not understand to this day, and we absolutely went hog wild with money.
We did. We had a highest GDP growth in history following Bretton Woods and that final tether. We had a more stable employment and investment, predictability as a business entity, caused an insane amount of growth in the 70s, despite everyone talking about recessions as a thing in the 70s, because, that's how they rewrote it. The 80s was the recessions. That's where that hit. It is a whole bunch of stuff. But like there was oil shocks that were taking place that have nothing to do with gold standard or not, and would have created an insane chaos in the banking system if we were on the gold standard still at that point 50 years later. Like, it's so stupid. Fuck, just, God damn it. God damn it.
Money printing after the dot-com bubble burst and the 2008 financial collapse. We printed so much money that inflation started to just outright destroy everyone's savings. But
you think inflation's the thing that did it, not the massive predatory loan programs and the transfer of wealth that's seen as the bailouts of the banks, where they took taxpayer money and gave it directly to the wealthy, and we've consistently seen since, as they've done it over and over. That's not doing it. The destruction of, the job market, not because of the Jews, but actually because of how corporations are primarily focused on raising their rentier capital in the form of their stock. No? Okay, probably not. Who knows?
In a weird twist of fate, it also helped drive housing prices sky high. In fact, this is exactly how we ended up in the 2008 housing bubble in the first place, fixing the dot-com bubble bursting with printed money.
No, abso-fucking-lutely not the case. Absolutely not the fucking case. That's really stupid. That's how is that?
And low interest rates just caused a new bubble to form, this time in housing. And when that popped in 2000.
See, again, it's stunning, weirdly. I don't think people understand how economics works. I made this comment the other day in Anti-Oedipus. We had a question come up, and I'm not shitting on that person. I appreciate any of the questions. I don't think people understand what capitalism is. I really don't. Like, people think buying and selling things is capitalism. And that's just not by anyone's ever. Like, the exchange of goods for a money has been around. The investment in things also been around. These are not capitalism. I don't think people understand what capitalism is or how it works. This guy has like almost 5 million subs. And he thinks it has to do with like spending money. It doesn't. Here's what matters. The bond market and how it functions and how stocks work. The way capitalists make money in any system is a little bit different than how a rich person might come along, which they've been doing for thousands of years, and giving money to someone to do a thing, start a business, do an art project, make a movie. They're invest and they get returns. That's not capitalism. That's just loaning and usury. That's in the Bible. That's how old this is. That's like long ago Bibles. Like, it's been a thing that's been discussed in multiple major like texts thousands of years ago. Usury is not new. Usury, not capitalism. Particularly, the way capitalism works, it's a bit different, is we have market makers. It's not the full term for them. I would say middlemen. Middlemen is the founding thing of capitalism. If I were to say anything, it's middlemen. Hey, I've got a company and I need a bunch of money. I'm going to issue bonds. And the other guy comes along and goes, oh, I want to buy bonds. I think I could buy them. I'd like to buy them for $150. Another guy goes, oh, well, I just put them up for $100. I don't know. We have a market maker in the middle who figures out what those prices are, buys and then sells and handles that transaction. And they do it in the stock marketplace, which is very new. Very new. And the way options work inside of that and the way derivatives work. For example, the way I mean, all of this functions is fundamentally the thing that makes capitalism unique. I mentioned the other day that I got super, super deep into gamma trading recently, over the last like week, because it's something I hadn't grasped. I've been hearing it more and more. It's something I'd heard a little bit ago, but it danced out of my brain. The fundamental things that make our country function and make the world, it's the world. Fuck our country. Fuck America. It has nothing to do with any of it. Like, nations are secondary. The thing that makes this stuff function is so much more interesting and complicated than just this stupid shit around, oh, they have interest rates. Interest rates ain't fucking doing it, buddy. That ain't the thing. Predictability, change, the rate of change of the value of any given thing, and then the rate in time of the rate of that change, the delta and gamma in theta. A lot of Greek shit. A lot of Greek shit shows up in this. And appropriate, because Greek is an old term for getting fucked in the ass. And that's basically what they're doing. Arbitrage, it's arbitrage. Like Jordan hit it, it's arbitrage. Arbitrage is fascinatingly central to the entire functioning of our entire world. And you don't know what that is, probably. At all. Yes, risk mitigation, risk management, derivatives, all of these things, they exist outside of what I would say is the very normal reality of what people think capitalism is. And so you get a lot of people who just have a minor understanding of how the economy works. And they don't get that there is actually like a complexity that will fucking shatter your... We're going to go through gamma trading tonight. We're going to do it. We're going to try. We're going to start trading gamma on Kalshi bets. Oh, Jesus Christ. That breaks me. Is this flow of value in Marx? Is this... I will relate it back. It is not, but it's not... It's much closer to what Marx was talking about. I think this is one of those things I think Deleuze teased out better than Marx, even though Marx, I think, gives the language for it. He does. And I think he identifies it. I don't think he did the exacting job that's needed in order to get at specifically the flux at the center of capital. And it's, if you go back and you understand how this particular part of how capital has been identified, and it's only been like 150, 200 years we've had real capitalism as we're talking about it. These things that have become center to how capitalism functions create the incentive structures that have led to all of the crashes. And not in a weird, like, narrative way, but in a, hey, look, I built a system like this. This is the fucking inevitable end of it, and that's what happened. And that's 2008 is that. When you actually have the ability to, and we've always had the ability to have, I'm going to sell my debt. So I've loaned out a bunch of money, and that debt is being paid back to me. That value over time, that's been able to be sold for a long time. That's not an interesting financial vehicle. The ability to turn that into a financial vehicle that can then be resold and also do swaps against is a different beast. They get creative with it. People get really creative. Business people, wacky, fucked up business people. And then they start trading on the abstract thing rather than the thing that abstract thing is based on. And it kind of, this is what Enron did. Flatly, this is what happened with Enron. This is what happened in 2008. This is what's happening right now. And so it's going to be really interesting. Yeah, Deleuze had the luxury of, I mean, obviously he had the luxury of being like 100 years on Marx. Marx could not have imagined the literacy, but I would also argue Deleuze, I don't think, can understand or had the grasp of how exactly right he was in terms of his interpretation of Marx. Like, they both turned out to be basically spot fucking on, but in ways I don't think they understood the specificity of. We'll get to it, because it's actually like really fascinating. And gamma trading, if you can understand the mechanism, to me elucidates why we live in the world we do now versus the 2000s, which you can assign to that and how capitalism functioned, versus the 80s and 90s. You can go through time and see the things that are the mechanisms within capital, not I invest money. That's fucking baby shoes. We're not doing that shit. Okay? That's not it. This is the more complex, hey, actually, here's the incentive structure at the heart of capital. And this is the shit that's going to be interesting. Can I talk about Fed interest rates today? I don't know what they are today, so no.
2008, the government once again printed even more money. When COVID
Oh no!
happened. Oh Lord. Did we ever print when that came around?
And didn't really lead to a ton of inflation, actually, and didn't destroy the economy. Weird, right?
And, as always happens when you print money, prices for even everyday goods just skyrocketed. Now, for
The best part about capitalism is the value of all the nonsensical abstract math is worth several planet Earths all at once while being entirely extant in a spreadsheet. We'll get there. The number of Greek symbols we're going to be talking about today, it's delta, gamma, theta. And what's going to be fun is I will need your help to make sure I'm saying things correctly. Please, please correct me as I go, because I'm too stupid to fully grasp most of these things. I'm too stupid. You probably are too, but you may not be. And if you aren't, I need help because it is very fascinating. But this guy's fucking just useless.
For now, just know this. Printing money causes inflation.
No, it doesn't. That's not how it works. And again, it's a narrative, ideological, delirium bullshit thing he's stating. Again, I don't care what he believes or not. The challenge is when he says printing leads to inflation, I can give examples where it didn't. So therefore, it's not the thing. Printing that isn't then consumed in productive capacity leads to inflation. Better? I can probably get closer to that. I can give examples where that's also not true because economics is not a science and mostly bullshit because we don't know.
Inflation causes prices to rise. And to keep up, you either need to get a raise every year that's at least as big as inflation, or you need to own assets that go up at least as much as inflation.
That's not how or have debt and then pay it down with future earnings that are worth more that pay down your debt faster.
Here I go anti-anything. Ho ho.
At Lone Pantalones 8284 super chatted $10. Investing in Brooks Streaming so that I can become capitalist.
With any luck, we'll turn you into a capitalist. I love it. I love it. Appreciate it. And thank you very much. See, we're $30 in, guys. You want to hear about Avatar's Disney adventures? We're at $70. Come on.
But the bad news is globalism makes it impossible for you to get a sufficient
We're going to finish this because we're doing gamma shit regardless.
raise. Real wages have been flat for roughly 4 decades. So
That's not accurate. I don't think that's accurate. I don't think that's
assets that go up at least as much as inflation. But the bad news is globalism makes it impossible for you to get a sufficient raise. Real wages have been flat for roughly 4 decades.
I don't think that's true. And you can do work, I think, against where it's like, oh, against inflation, it's flat. But again, that confuses what inflation means in terms of like the value of the dollar and purchasing power. Real wage grew in 2022. It's a complex, here's the thing. He's oversimplifying what is a very complicated like underlying thing. It doesn't really work the way he's saying it. So it's frustrating. Yeah. I'm just going to mostly say like, Ah, yeah, yeah.
So that only leaves owning assets. Now, as a matter of economic physics, the right basket of assets will keep up with inflation, or if you're really good, outpace it. But the top 10% of Americans own 93% of the assets.
I'm
What did he say?
Given that homes are the one asset people understand intuitively, that's what got purchased.
It's the top 10% own everything. Yes. But assets, the challenge is the language used. This is why I paused it, because the statement's flatly true, but he's talking about it in terms of, he's been talking about the housing market. The housing market isn't even close to like the largest asset class that we're talking about. But it's the one he's focused on because it fits his narrative. He hasn't talked about, for example, stocks or land or arable land, commercial land, agricultural land, industrial land. He's talking about houses. But then he says this other, so it's like, oh, so top 10% own 93% of assets. Well, you need an asset. The house is an asset. The conflation of these things it feels intentional. Interesting. He picks the top 10%. That's all. It's noted. Yeah. The top 10%, people can imagine that they're part of it. You're not. I'm not, and I live fine. Okay, generally, I don't have money, but I'm a nice place. Not remotely close. You're probably not remotely close. You might be. If you are, give me assets.
By the few
Donate stock.
people that could still afford them after the crash. Even though money and houses were cheap, virtually no
He's talking about assets. He's including Gamma. He's talking about options. He's talking about bonds. He's talking about companies. He's talking about stocks. He's talking about like everything. Assets are everything. The conversation around housing being this informative, effective thing, you're talking about one of the smaller percents of asset class that there is.
No one could get a loan after the catastrophe of the subprime mortgages. No one, that is, except corporations and wealthy boomers. And to make matters even worse, boomers had been voting for years to make it nearly impossible to build new homes. Once people understood that their
And here comes Ezra Klein.
homes weren't just places to live, they were places to store wealth. They wanted that wealth to grow, understandably. So they started voting for anything that would drive property values up. Zoning restrictions, density limits, lengthy permit processes.
And what's funny is none of those things actually increased or fixed pricing. The thing that did it is turning it into an official asset class that can be traded in large scale portfolios. That's what did it. The globalization. People forget what globalization actually means. He's gonna be talking in a second about it because, of course, Jews, shekels, and all that. But globalization doesn't mean having immigrants come here or having foreign people buy stuff in our country. Globalization means the globalization of the market. So once upon a time, I am old enough to remember this. My dad was a realtor in Denver, and home prices in Denver were dependent on neighborhood. Like, not in the way you're thinking about it. If you're younger, you do not know this time. But we're talking about like 7, 8, 10x difference in prices. Because what mattered was the people who lived in that neighborhood, the jobs they could get. People didn't commute 2 hours in the 80s. It wasn't really a thing in Colorado especially. They had little bits maybe here and there, but people in that area that could afford to live in that area bought houses at the price they could afford. There was an excessive push down in terms of capability of what people would get everything they could for their house, but locally, the locality of price was a real thing. When that changed, and it changed in the 2000s and especially changed in the like the last decade as the internet became a thing, as people could buy homes anywhere just by checking, oh, this is what Zillow says the price is. Okay, well, I should buy that. the ability for rich people to then gamble like they do on stock prices or anything else or Pokemon cards, the ability to do that at a global level means that the pool of people who have hilarious money can do this in hilarious money ways. So just like your Pokemon cards, you used to be able to go to a Magic the Gathering store and you didn't check online what the price was because there was no online. So you could pay, and you would pay, what your township, what the local price allowed. But when it's global, I go to shitty podunk area I live in. I'm an hour outside of Portland. I could drive an hour to a fucking game store where they have Pokemon cards. The prices will be identical to what they are in the heart of New York City. This is a fundamental change in how the entire system works. That globalization is everything. That when someone who has $1 billion can buy homes everywhere without having to live there, they used to have to fly somewhere, transfer money locally, have a local bank, get a mortgage, pay that way, like you used to have to live in a place to even manage it. Out of town landlords, that's a weird concept in the 70s and 80s. Not anymore. Completely different shift. Completely different shift. And this is why everything is expensive now. Because the billionaires, and there's a lot of them globally, can buy anything they want. So if I just want to buy Pokemon cards for my fucking kid, I can't. I can't. Despite being in a small town, because the prices here are the same as the prices in the heart of New York. This sounds remarkably similar to arbitrage. It's kind of the same fucking problem. Yes, it's almost like I'm building towards the critique I'm making. Have I read Piketty? Piketty's okay. Piketty's okay. Someone in the same time zone would have to make some money. Yes. It's a landlords. Once upon a time, and I mean this, once upon a time, there are places where you can see that they provided a service. People want to move to a place for a year. They don't want to buy. You do not want to buy a house everywhere you go. It's not how it works. You don't want to do that. You want to rent for a year, try the place out. Oh yeah, no, we like it. Then you go buy a house. The overabundance of landlordism, huge problem. But the rent price also is that same problem. Because it used to be the person you'd rent a room in your house, or you'd rent the house next door, maybe you'd buy that, or across town you'd buy a cheaper place and you'd rent that out to other people, but you'd manage it. Globalization means anyone anywhere can manage anything with purchasing power from anyone anywhere. And when you have laundering capabilities like Bitcoin gives you, there's no limit. There's no limit. That's it.
Neighborhood opposition to new construction. None of it was malicious. It was all just simple self-interest.
And this is one of those things it's simple self-interest to a point. Like, again, zoning, man, we can get into this because I did an entire thing on the material realities of zoning laws. I have an entire video on this. It's close to heart. But the challenge is that the zoning is being done with the awareness of global purchasers. Zoning 20, 30 years ago, you go back into the 90s where they're like, hey, we want to keep it single family, blah, blah, blah. Oh, NIMBY, getting people out. We don't want lower income. That's their thing. That happened in the 90s. This been that direction. Yes, he's right there. But in the 2000s on, no. It's done cynically, knowing that this is a purchased asset that you're going to be selling. It's not a place people live anymore. The homes are not for living in anymore. I know my landlord, and this is his only property. It's fucking amazing. Comes here and shovels. We have a management company, which I'm not super thrilled about. They're better than the last one. Last place we had was corporate. Like, we couldn't contact anyone. This one we actually can. They're local, and the guy's local who owns the place. So like we picked pears and gave him pears, and he's come by a few times. It's nice, but it's like wild.
Supply is restricted, prices rise. And for existing...
It's not because supply is restricted, prices rise, though. Like but that's not why, like, if you think people went to like stop new homes from being built. I grew up in this time, and again, my dad's a landlord. This is not the thing. The number of new developments and houses were exploding in the 90s and the 2000s. Like, it's insane the number of developers that were just building massive amounts of houses. That's not a restriction in supply. He's just making this up. It's not about restriction in supply. The zoning laws have to do with restricting cheap homes because they don't want cheap homes nearby because it may hurt their specific property values. That is the local interaction. That doesn't exist anymore either.
Homeowners, that is awesome. But the consequences are predictable. The fewer homes you allow to be built, the more expensive existing homes.
But less homes are being built than ever. And that's not due to zoning. Again, in the 2000s, there was an insane building boom. And we have a huge number of empty homes. So he's just bullshit.
Homes become. And gradually, the next generation just gets priced out. And by the time COVID hit, we'd already had over a decade of cheap ass money, artificially limited housing supply, massive immigration, and an influx of corporations, such as BlackRock, deploying.
Does he not think that we had no immigration in like the 40s and 50s? Like, does he not think we hit? That's wild. Yeah, I mean, again, it's not really dog whistling anymore.
Billions of dollars to buy up single-family homes as an investment. Now you
sort of true. And again, you have to understand what they're doing. They're not just buying homes as an investment and sitting on them. They're buying homes as an asset class that is being packaged as part of a portfolio and then being resold as part of larger options packages. This is the fundamental thing that he's not bright enough to get. And it's a challenge. Granted, it's incredibly counterintuitive, but buying things isn't about buying things for capitalists. That's not the point. The point is the larger meta transaction that happens. It's an incredibly dangerous set of rhetoric too. Studies have shown over and over, immigration has almost no effect on housing prices. If anything, it slightly pushes it up. Immigrants tend to be able to be employed to build houses and are cheaper labor for said So this is just bullshit. It's just insane bullshit across, like, wall to wall, every step of the way. Just fucking insane bullshit. Fucking so frustrating. Two seconds. I'm switching back to trying to get this thing to work again. Is this working? All right. It's simple MCM. We'll get to that, Goddard, and that's kind of, it's not anymore. There's not an M anymore. Gamma trading, delta hedging. It's not an M anymore. We'll get to it. It's been fascinating. And I may be wrong, so feel free to tell me.
You put all of that together, and you've got four forces pushing homes out of reach of the average American. Wage stagnation, immigration, inflation, and increased competition from deep-pocketed corporations
Fucking scumbag.
for a very scarce resource. Now, in theory, younger generations could have compensated for housing being out of reach by mastering the financial markets. This is exactly why crypto hit so hard for young people. But overall, financial literacy is rare. Investing can be risky. And more importantly, you can't live inside of a Bitcoin or a stock portfolio. And that brings us to the macro framework that explains everything that's happening now with assets going to the moon. When the government prints money, asset prices inflate. Housing is the default hedge against that inflation.
That's not how that works. That's wild.
If supply is artificially restricted, prices rise faster. When interest rates stay near zero for more than a decade, homeowners refinance into ultra low mortgages and have no incentive to ever sell. That locks inventory in place, making housing even more scarce when immigrants start competing in large.
Just wild. Like the entire thing is this. The challenge with these discussions is the narrative inventiveness that comes with not actually dealing with the problems as they exist materially enables the symbolic. It enables the representational and the conspiracy brained to take over. So you can just go, oh, this is related to that. Well, this is related to that. And this is related to that. And the believability, the ability for it to make sense to someone who hears it is mostly what they need. They don't need it to be rational or logical or follow in any meaningful sense. It just has to make sense. And that vibes check is something that he's very good at, and it's pretty horrifying. 1 second. Yes, Dexter. What's this?
I'm trying to play Minecraft.
Oh, this is going to be a bit more of a pain in the ass today. Okay, I need to reset some things for you, so I won't be able to do it today, okay? Sorry, bud. Can you play Minecraft on the Switch? I bet you can. Hey, Dex, can you play Minecraft on the Switch? Please? Can you go plug that in? No, right there. Your dock's right there, bud. On the desk, by your keyboard. Did you plug it in? He didn't plug it in. Now he's plugging it in. There we go. Dexter, can you close the door? Dadding it up. Dadding it up.
Large corporations enter the market and acquire homes in bulk. Overall competition skyrockets and supply drops even further.
The kids are way young for your age. Eat shit, got her.
Compared to the demand. Each factor compounds upon the others. This is why high prices are not always a signal of market strength. They can also be a signal of a system malfunctioning exactly as it's designed to. And yes, I said malfunctioning.
As it's designed to. By the people who are in charge of it.
As it's designed to. What we're seeing is the outcome of cheap money, bad housing policy that makes it hard to build, structural wage stagnation, and concentrated ownership.
That may be all we watch of him. And I knew this was going to be the case because just to show, like, Scott Galloway goes on his show. Oh, look who else. Oh, look who else. Yes. So I like Scott Galloway quite often. I found this, these three was what I saw when it popped up and I went, shit. Oh, shit. The elite agenda. You won't recognize America soon. We have 2 years left. We are people who have glasses. They're stealing from you. Trump just triggered the collapse of the IRS. The breaking point. Hassan, this is where we violent disagree. Well, that could be... I mean, just debating Hassan on economics. This guy debating Hassan, yeah, that wouldn't end well for me. If you don't have one of these jobs by 2030, you're screwed. Worse than Epstein. What the fuck? Former CIA spy explains? What the fuck is going on? It's oh my God, Kevin O'Leary. Kevin O'Leary, one of the great scam artists of our time. I adore that he takes Kevin O'Leary seriously. If you did in like 2015, I'll give you a pass. But if you didn't know, Kevin O'Leary not only doesn't really run businesses, but basically has bankrupted a series of things that you probably love or grew up loving because he's trash. So yeah, this is, yes, pure YouTube trash. This is true. This is pure YouTube trash. But I kind of find it fascinating in its own way. All right, let's chat. Let's chat. This is going to be interesting. I haven't done a stream like this in a very long time. I hope this thing still works. This setup still works because it's entirely possible it does not. But we'll find out as we do it. Let's see. Yeah, that's nice. It's a little, yeah, it's not bad. I think you guys can see it. Let me see if I can make it a little thicker for you. Don't Michael Scott me. Yeah, that's okay. All right. Okay. Let's talk about actual economics. Like actually what makes capitalism. Are you interested in that? I'm interested in that. I hope you're interested in that. Okay. I don't write very cleanly, but that's the price you pay for valuing my time poorly. And valuing someone who doesn't write clearly. That's not my fault. All right. Nope. Come on. Gotta get my keyboard off to the side because I keep hitting it. I have Hall effect switches. I have the crazy, so they're super sensitive. Fucking, you don't want that. That just ruins everyone's day. So here's what I want to talk about. Let's talk about options. Hey, you want to buy a stock, okay? We're going to do, we're going to just put a few colors in here and we're going to make them all big. So that way you guys maybe hopefully can see something here. We'll find out. Let me know if it isn't visually seeable. I can zoom in more. I can figure it out. We'll figure it out. I haven't done one of these in a while. It's a little smaller than I set up, but we want to buy a stock. That's way too light, isn't it? Just terrible, Brooks. Just awful. Let's see. Sorry, you can deal with the momentary oddness. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, it's very thin. I don't want that, so let's see. I can zoom in and then bring it back, and we'll see if we can do it this way. Because if I make it larger here, then when I write, that should be a little bit better. Hey. All right, that should be okay. Is that okay? Better-ish? Easier to read light over dark? Oh, actually, that might... You know what? That might be a thing. One moment. One second. It's wider pin. It's Miro. Miro's not working with me today. There is not much of more of one I can do. I can do a highlighter, which we can see is literally the same width, so that's not even worthwhile. That's terrible. All right. Because I have to diagram this out. There's no way to do like this nicely. That's the problem. There's no way to do this except as like a diagramming and drawing and doing that stupid shit. So let me, give me a second to see what we've got here. Yeah, whiteboard's not going to work for me. I have Krita. Krita doesn't, well, Krita could work. It's just so complicated and so many options and all of that. One second. Two seconds. All right, we'll do this in OBS. We'll see if this works. We'll find out. It may not. In fact, it probably won't, but you know, there's worse things. Okay, that's there. We go here, we go filters, go chroma key. See if this works. Yeah, we want to, no, I want to pull that away. That could work if I make it have a black background. That actually may work very nicely. Yeah. So if I pull in the background, that could work. That might work. Let's find out. It's not great. Could be worse. Yeah, Google actually helped. Look at that. Shocking. I think that's better. You guys think that's better? I think that's better. Yeah, this can work, and then I can read it, and it's fine. So we'll try to see what happens here. Should be okay. It's legible. Legible is better than nothing, so I'll take it. I'll take legible. Why the fuck not? And apparently I drew everywhere all over it. I don't even know how that happened. So what the fuck ever. I have no idea. No clue. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about the ways that capitalism works. Let's try to actually see if we can do this today. Let's see what happens. All right, we have a stock. Hey, that's fucking banger. It's banger. We have a stock. Now, most people think that what happens is I want to buy a stock for $100. There's Brooks's over here, okay? That I go over here and I go, here is $100, and then I get stock. Okay? This is how people think buying stock works. This is not it. This is a big fucking no. It's a step or two more complex than that. Mostly, you have people in the middle who are part of these things. But when you buy stock, you buy from a clearinghouse, market maker, someone who does that, who handles that sort of in between. Because the company isn't there selling stock. That's not really how it works. They put up their stock, they put up bonds, they do whatever they're going to do. That's not how it functions. There's a marketplace. There's people running it. There's the New York Stock Exchange, various stock exchanges around the world. Companies don't run them directly. There's people who run them, and they're in between. One of the things you can do, and it's this sort of evolution of this. Again, we're going to kind of talk evolution. Originally it was, hey, company needs money, so they issue stocks that they put out there. They issue the stocks for, let's say, $100, okay? $100 stock. Yay, you get $100 per stock that's out there. And I've got $1,000 and I buy that stock. Okay. And then in return, I get ownership of that stock. And the company gets $1,000 that they use to build stuff and do things. Simple idea where this first sort of started. This process, though, has a few steps in between. We're going to kind of get to it. And again, anyone who is smarter than me on any of this, don't hesitate to correct me, because this is a complex nightmare. And I don't have another way to describe this. I don't know exactly how to go over this simply. One of the things you can do is, instead of just saying, this stock here is being sold for $100 right now is the value. Instead of just buying it straight up, I can go, hey, I actually want to buy options on the stock. Now, option means, well, the stock is currently at $100, right? It's set up there. I want to buy the rights to buy that stock at a different price. So let's say I'm going to do a call option. I think it's going to go up. I want to buy the rights to it. So I buy I always get these numbers. When I start talking about this, my brain just like slowly stops working. I buy options on this. I buy a call. Okay. This is a call option where I'm going to put $5 towards the idea that I'm going to buy it at some point. Is anyone here disagreeing with this language? I want to make sure. I don't want to get this wrong. This is going to be embarrassing if I do. The setup that happens, I go on Robinhood, I go on anything, I go on Ameritrade, I buy this option. Well, the stock is at $100. The option's going to expire at some point. This call option is giving me the right to buy it. Now, this process on Ameritrade, to me as a consumer, seems like I'm just putting in this, this bet, this call that it will be this price, and I'm buying it early. But what actually happens is kind of underneath the surface here. Underneath the surface, the market maker is the term, and they are people with a fuck ton of money and a lot of stock. That sort of sit in there and actually control these marketplaces. What happens is the market maker actually is the one I'm buying it from. I don't buy an option from the company. The market maker is sitting as this middleman. So, well, I'm saying, hey, I'll pay $5 for $105. I think it's going to be worth $105. So I'm doing a call option at that. The market maker goes, that's great. So they actually owe me technically if the price goes up. They now have risk because they've basically got to sell me this stock that's now worth $100, but they have to sell it at $100 if it goes to $105. They have a loss that's coming. They have a risk that's coming there directionally. So what they do to compensate for this, and I know there are a few smarter people in here, okay, so please tell me where I'm wrong. Let's say to obfuscate this risk, what they do is they actually go and they don't buy one stock, they buy 50. So they buy like $5,000 worth of the stock at $100. Okay. So that's 50 shares that they're actually buying. Okay. What this is it's called delta hedging. Okay. Delta hedging in this case would be like saying, depending on the delta, and I'm not doing the math for everything, depending on things, every time the option moves 50 cents, okay, the option's value is moving 50 cents for every time there's a dollar increase in the stock. So if, for example, the stock goes to $101, the option I have, right, my call option that I have here, that was worth $5, right, is now worth $5.50. Ish. There's more complex things than this. So now I've got a 50-cent profit on this, right? But the market maker, his delta, the delta of, again, the rate of change of the value of the option changes. His delta is not 50 cents as it was a moment ago. His delta is now 55 cents. So they need to own 55 shares because of this change. Okay. So they need to own now 55 shares. So they have a risk profile of an extra 5 fucking, God damn it, no, fuck you. Another 5 shares that they need to get, but they only have 50. So they buy 5 more shares. Okay? So now they have 55 shares, but they've spent $101 on each one. So that 55, that extra 5, they've paid, sorry, my brain is not meant for math, $505 for the extra shares that they've just bought. Okay? This is important. This is important, I promise. It's very dry. This is why no one knows this shit, because it sucks. This sucks. And it's also automated. This shit is done by computer. No one's writing this stuff. Okay? So now they're in to this whole thing for a total of $5,505. Okay? So that's actually what they're in now. But, okay, and I'm going to scooch down a little bit. I think I can scooch if it lets me. Scooch. Yeah. But now the stock went down a bit. It's no longer $101. It's now $100. So the delta, because of the rate of change, again, on the option specifically, the rate of change is 0.5 again. So now the stock back to 100. Okay. So the rate of change is back to 0.5, the delta. They need to own 50 shares in order to handle this. Okay, in order to have the proper risk profile, they need to have 50 shares. But they own 55. Oh, these are not the same. Oh no, these are not the same. So they sell 5 shares, right? Oh God, it did it again. This fucking thing. So now they sell 5 shares. So they sell 5 shares at $100 because that's what it's at now, right? But here's the thing. How this worked out, this is just a minor transaction. This is not an interesting moment. This went up $1 and now it's reduced $1. This is not an exciting set of transactions we're talking about. And so they sell the 5 at $100. Here's the thing. They sold they bought 5 shares at $101, and then they bought at 101, then they sold at 100. So they lost $5. The reverse, because that's an up and a down, this will happen continuously. Okay? This tiny amount of money. Every one of these purchases and sells, every one of these delta hedges is a transaction. Costs money. There's middlemen in the whole thing, all the setup. This is continuous. This is delta hedging. Not super exciting. Delta as a thing. This is not exciting. I know. But follow me on this, because this is where it gets fun. This is kind of the idea that the option value changes with the stock price. And so we measure how much the delta changes with the stock price. That's what gamma is. Okay. So how we measure it and the actual math of it is we basically have the second derivative. I know, sorry, of the overall value. Okay. With respect to the stock price, DV, it should be lowercase ds. As a thing. This is the actual mathematical operation happening at the center of basically every major transaction when people buy options. And this goes the other direction, where if the stock goes down and back up, they sell and then they buy, and then they actually end up with a net gain on the books. This fractional back and forth. Okay? Following? So here's how this has sort of changed over time. Okay. And I'm going to try to again, it's some narrativization, but I'm going to try to make my way through how this sort of worked through time, because this is not new. This is from the 1900s, 1920s, 1930s. Arbitrage And this setup is really important to just a functioning economy. The thing that has enabled companies to have stocks is this. There's no other thing here. Arbitrage is what enables this, and the people who make money on these transactions at the center of it kind of build and create the regulations and the structure that shift sentiment and shift incentives in a way that is exceptionally perverse. So, 1930s, okay? And beyond that, I'm being very flippant with this. What we had convertible bonds. This is not an exciting sort of thing, but it's much more similar to the kind of thing I was just talking about when it comes to like how companies raised money. If a company needed $10 million, they would issue a convertible bond. You then, as a person or company or bank or whatever, would lend them money via this bond. The bond could be converted later to a stock. Now, bonds are complicated. They're debt and option at once. Okay, this is why I started with the option thing. They're a debt and option. Bonds are really interesting. So what would happen is, because that company doesn't know every dude who's running around with capital, okay, that's not how it works. They need an arbitrageur. That's the term for it. This arbitrageur. An arbitrager, more or less. That arbitrager would basically buy the entire bond structure. Say it's a $10 million the company needed to do stuff. They would buy it for $9.5 million, which gives them a nice set. And then by doing that, they basically go through the same process. The company gets their $9.5 million. They begin building factories. They hire people. They buy land. They buy a mine, whatever. They hire workers. They make products. Something happens productively in society. Now, in this setup, because as we just talked about, the way that arbitrageur works, he's selling options to other people and bonds to other people. He's making almost all the money that comes from the capitalist side of that by selling those bonds to second and third parties, which can be converted. And he's doing it through delta hedging. Delta hedging is where he makes his cash. Probably on if he does it like this 10 million thing, probably can make like a nice $1 million. This morphed into a big shift in the 90s. This went on for years. This is the way the economy mostly functioned for companies. When we switched to more pure options trading, I find it to be a really interesting change. This happened in the 90s. This is post-80s, post-Reagan, post-deregulation, which is kind of a big part of this. A lot of this can't be done because of the regulative side that was absolutely put in place, Glass-Steagall alone, but certainly all of the financial regulations across the board for all of these things. Okay? Now, I know, I just want to make sure people are still here, because very few people are typing. And I know I've lost like 20 viewers, but there's like 80 people. No one's typing. So, okay, good. Just making sure is a thing. So the convertible bonds were what we did. We shifted to allowing options themselves to get put on exchanges. And this really started to become the target of things in like the 90s. And options directly sold is a really unique thing because, one, it's separate from bonds, like it's turning it into its own financial instrument. So the company actually is irrelevant from most of this conversation at this point. They're not really the thing. You can just buy and sell options directly. We still do this today, but this was the aim of things. It was an innovation, a financial instrument innovation. They love using that fucking terms. But when you do that, when you buy and sell options directly, there's an odd switch in that the company does not ever receive cash. So if, for example, if you ever were confused how people, I don't know, buy stock in Microsoft or Tesla, and then the company doesn't actually have more money to do things with, not automatically. Like I just bought a bunch of stock in Tesla. Oh, so they got $1 million? No. That's because this different setup means that they're actually just dealing with downstream shit. The stuff in arbitrage, not the company itself. There's no company receiving capital. There's no factory being built. So when Marx talks at length, and he does at length, about this shit right here, he does. He's actually it's pretty amazing. That thing where capitalists buy and sell stock and they fund businesses, yeah, that's not been a thing for a very long time. That's it. I'm getting there, Queen of Swords. This thing right here is basically when a company IPOs, that's it. That's how they make their money. They by selling the stock in that first initial public offering. By doing so, by creating stock, and the companies can do this. They can create a bunch of stock, which, dilutes and devalues, but it allows them to sell that stock for profit that they can then turn into investment in the company. But none of this is the fucking point, because most of that IPO is actually going to purchasing shares. It's a different thing. It's fucking ruining businesses. I know by the way, businesses have been around for a long time. That's not capitalism either. So this is weird. This thing that we're doing now where it's options direct. And it's the same mechanics, right? You buy an option. Someone who's doing that, the market makers, delta hedging, they do it with the stock of the company. And that thing where they're going back and forth and making that few dollars, that's called gamma scalping. We'll get there. For a long time, that wasn't really considered a serious thing. It's not its own instrument. But then, I'd say post-internet bubble, which fundamentally changed everything, which is like 2000s on. And this is to today, I would say. We shift to another thing, which I would call market maker dominance. And again, if you go back, and someone can correct me on this, I went back and I reread a lot of old business books and articles about how things worked. It doesn't work the same. Market makers didn't have the same power or control as they gained in the 2000s. And again, there's a weird thing that happens when this is the case, because up here we have people doing the delta, the gamma scalping, that little arbitrage shit. But market makers are a weird beast, because this isn't just some capitalist, right? I hope you can understand that very, very, very shortly. Come on, let me move my fucking... There. Market makers are that middleman. No, fuck you, Miro. Market makers are able to see every transaction. They're the people who, if you are buying options, you're buying options through them. They're not neutral, though. They're not like just some dude handing back and forth. They're the ones doing this delta and gamma hedging. The market makers are. So if, for example, Brooks goes, okay, Brooks is here, and I go to buy an option. Okay. I buy it through a market maker. And from here, I'm just going to call it the MM. I don't care anymore. It's just the market MM. And then it gets executed. This is actually really terrifying, though, because this guy can see every one of my calls before they're executed. Okay? So they're able to know before their order is executed, how much stock they need to purchase to hedge. So, like, if you weren't following, this is terrifying. This is insane, because basically they go through the process where they say, oh, hello, thank you. And they take in the call, they take in the order. They look at it. Oh, yes, that's good. And then they calculate, and then they buy. That's terrible, Brooks. You just need to learn to write better. They buy the delta. They buy the stock they need before they need it, before filling your order. Okay? And then your order, before you've done it, before it's executed, you've done it in the execution time. Okay? In that time, the order pushes the price up. Their order pushes the price up. This is still before your order is executed. Okay? And then they sell you the option price adjusted. Because they already own the hedge stock at a lower price. Okay? So this thing over here. Okay, just to zoom back in. Remember this? This is this thing where like, oh, I have to do a thing and we buy it. It's $100. It goes up and down. Oh, it's like, look, a guy has to do it. This is arbitrage. It's been around for a long time. It's necessary as part of these systems. But now, all of that is actually done before my options order is executed. So what this means, this is a big deal. So, again, Brooks is going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do my $5 again. Okay. I'll do my $5. Okay. And they buy that bid at $4.85. They do that and they make basically 15 cents instantly. Okay. This is just 15 cents. It's nothing exciting, granted, but they make that money instant. My order still hasn't been executed. Okay. They then pre-position the order in getting ready for it to happen. They have knowledge where the stock is about to be. They have a knowledge of all the other orders that are going in, other people's, not just mine. So they automate this shit. And then they do this thing that's kind of super fucked up, where they actually move it and they adjust this in a way that's best for them. It's called max pain is the term I've learned for this. Fascinating term. Just awful. But basically what it means is that all of this gets executed finally. But when it's executed, my $5 has actually pushed things towards the position that's needed to make my options expire. Okay? Executed towards expiration, which is not something that was possible in these other systems. Not fucking possible. Not possible. Gamers. No. Gammas. Gamma. Okay? So we have basically these really weird 3 stages of things. And we're in this really fucked up time right now. We'll get into why this matters, I think. Where arbitrage was productive. And Marx talks about this. Like, the capitalist who's aware of what he's doing, but the money did go into factories. It did go into production. It's damaging, blah, blah, blah. But it did these things. Then we went and moved into, like, over time as this sort of happened, we moved into more extractive gamma and delta holdings. Again, not the same thing as where we are now, but basically you would buy during volatility if you're one of these big, massive capitalists. And as you do so, you kind of make money off of general volatility during the process. This doesn't allocate capital in a way that ends up in a productive capacity. If you want to talk about a fundamental reason why production globally has shifted or why it hasn't worked in America, it's because this is how we make our money now. We don't do it through production. We skip that step. We don't give a fuck. We don't give a fuck. Are there any good books that explain this? They're all complex business textbooks that I've been really doing my best in the last week to sort of work through. A couple good papers, I'll post them in the QC. But the thing is, the social function this takes on is just nothing. It is purely taking money from counterparties. But it's not the worst thing. The worst thing now is, like, the people who are investing are not the people who are making money anymore. Now, these market makers see orders first, front run them, they hedge to create volatility itself, and they extract from the created volatility. What happens then is only market makers make money in the stock market anymore. This is not news to anyone who's invested in the last 2 years or 3 years. It's not news to any one of those people. Day traders don't have hope. You need so much fucking money. It's unbelievable to be a part of this. And this is why. And what this does is this extracts money from long-term investors, retail people, and also produces nothing. There's a second aspect of this that's really weird though, right? Because the way the market makers operate, how they fuck everything up, aside from obviously they're not investing in anything or that setup, this means that the market makers who, for a long time, the convertible bonds market functioned by market makers actually going and looking at a company. Oh, they look like they're real. They look like they're not bullshit. I'm able to sell this. This is a real thing people will make money off of, because if they don't, the latency and the way time works, no one's going to buy from them if a company has gone under in the first 2 weeks. That's how it functions. However, when you start moving into buying options directly, it's still tied in some level to that initial offering, but it's not about turning it into productive capital. Options create a volatility and a purchase in volatility. You're betting that stock will go up or stock will go down. You're not betting on the long-term value of a company. Market maker dominance and the gamma scalping that goes on is worse, because it means that you're actually betting on pure volatility itself. You're monetizing uncertainty in the marketplace. Run Trader, I'm gonna mute you. I appreciate the thing, but we're gonna be taking a break for a little bit on the things. This means that the wealthiest market making hedge fund people, okay, the people who do this, their money is made if the markets are uncertain, not volatility. That's not the thing. Insider trading, volatility, knowing it's going to go up, knowing it's going to go down, one thing. It's the way it used to operate. Now it's a question of whether or not there's going to be consistently volatile markets. It doesn't matter if it goes up or down a while. That's not the point. It's that it stays generally around the same place and kind of is fucky. Now I'm going to ask, has anyone noticed in the last year or two a general push towards a total uncertainty in the business market in the terms of how regulation and the government handles it? Anyone? Has uncertainty gripped the market pretty significantly? Anyone? Yeah. So we're in a really weird place. We're in a place where the market makers who have more money than God and are the market makers themselves, In order for them to make money and continue to make money actively, they need gamma scalping. They need delta hedging in large amounts. A upgrowing market doesn't do it the same way an uncertain market does. Markets crashing can be a profitable enterprise. Turns out not the same as delta hedging and gamma scalping. Not even close, actually. Just not even close. Because it's you can buy and sell low. Great. You sell when it goes up and you buy when it goes low. You can bet against things. You can short. All of those are directional. They're not consistent. And they're things retail investors do. They're things retail investors do. It's completely fucking broken. It's completely fucking broken. And when you actually have knowledge, which all the market makers do, flatly, all of them, when you have knowledge of what orders are coming in and the ability for you to buy against that and actually sort of prepare and do arbitrage live before those things take place, before retail orders hit, you can make an extraordinary amount of money. And again, only at scale. This is capital's like brilliance. And I put that in like that sarcastic thing because you're not making thousands of dollars on any transaction. You're making hundreds of dollars on millions of transactions. An unbelievably large amount of profit is made this way. This has been one of the most depressing things. It's been one of the most depressing things I've kind of gone into because the way that gamma exposure has, delta exposure and gamma scalping has taken over is so terrifying. And no one cares. No one understands. Again, most people don't know what arbitrage is or the function of market makers. When you talk about capitalism as someone who is supposed to be on the left or whatever the fuck that's called, you can't just be against rich people. That's not the fucking point. You have to be about the system, how the system builds incentives. And if you look at incentives, for example, where people are buying directly, in the options of a thing, and you're wondering why we end up with credit default swaps, which are options of things, when the people in charge are building the incentive structures within these things, and that financial system determines the rest of our lives, and it always has. It always has. That's the way capitalism has fucking worked. This is how we end up with the crashes. This is not a handful of greedy people. This is not a handful. The fundamental capitalist system works this way. And we've removed industrial capital from the process. It's all CC. It's no longer, it doesn't have to become wages. These things don't have. Let me try one last bit. To try to explain why this hits me terrifyingly. If I've got a bond, or if I'm buying stock, right, and the company's stock ever hits a certain price, let's say they're selling their shares at 100. A market maker comes by, buys them at $95 a share, okay? They go out and sell. They bullshit. It doesn't matter. But that company, the stock ends up, due to market forces, due to what people are willing to buy it at, the thing coalesces and becomes concretized at $102 a share. Done. That affirms certainty. There's a certainty there. Now, again, the company will get their $95 a share to the company, blah, blah, blah. But this is set in stone. That's how much the value was of the stock. And then they go up and down. It's like, oh, well, the stock is worth this much today because of these things. This is the setup. Here's the thing. Oh, it's worth 103. Oh, no, down here it's now worth 100 because of some activity. And it's concretized as a value. Okay? That's if you care about value. Now imagine that your interest is not in concretized moments where you're going, oh, stock's going up and down, but in actually not even the variance. Oh, this went up. Oh, this was a rate of change of $3. This is a rate of change of $2 down. I don't care. It's not to scale. And this is a rate of change of $5 up. So it's a negative. So it's overall, we can figure out what the delta is at any given point from point to point. Doop, we graph it. Math. Yay. That's what options do. Options are concerned with the rate of change guessed over time. So you tend to look at, if you ever see a silly fucking stupid fucking thing from the goddamn stock market, people tend to talk about these large swaths of, hey, here's a baseline. This looks like where they're going to be able to make money. It won't go below that. It probably won't go above this either. Baseline values of these different things. This is what you do if you day trade. If you haven't done it, it's worth like watching stuff. It's interesting to do. I find it to be gambling effectively just across the board. So here's the problem. That last thing we were talking about is the delta. But the delta, which now I don't care about the actualized prices, right? I don't care about the actual price. I care about the delta between them. So the price being $103, I don't give a fuck about it being $103. That doesn't matter to me. I don't care anymore. The delta doesn't care. So what we're talking about is that the delta at any point equals 2 or 0.5. The delta becomes the thing we measure. So now, and this is fucking hard to understand, I get it. But if the delta is 2 up here, and then it's 5 over here, right? This has nothing to do with the value of the stock. This is the rate of change of the value of stock. So what we measure is we measure the rate of change in the rate of change, which this is like 1.5, and then this is 4.5. Okay, so there's a loss of that. So it ends up netting out to a gamma. This is not good math. I'm just giving an example. A gamma of, I don't know, fucking 3. Whatever. That's the thing we care about now. So now what we do is we actually map gamma at any given point. So now the gamma is 3 here, but it's 4 here. But now, ready? Now, when the gamma is 3 here, and then it's like -4 here, and then it's 7 here, it doesn't matter. The gamma change has less to do. It's a second order derivative. Exactly. It's a derivative of a derivative that is the thing market makers care about, which means it's about pure oscillation itself in the stock market, not positive or negative values. That's not the point. That's barely the point with delta. When they're doing options, it's not really the point. You can kind of bet, but when you're actually betting on gamma, you're betting on the thing that generates the flux of capital itself. This breaks my brain. So when market makers are talking about things, actualized prices are actually anathema to them. The stock being any price, or that there's certainty, if there was certainty coming, hey, actually, we're going to have a booming economy. Trump got everything in order and we're all in a great place. And AI is actually turning out to be a good thing. Everything's wonderful. Everything's good. And everything's on an uptick. Bad. Bad. It's bad. Because the gamma, if it's continually going up, the gamma is bad. Because you need variability. So you need it to go up, down, up, down, up, down at varying levels. And it can go generally up. You don't really care, but it has to be doing this. You have to be living in a space of uncertainty. This sounds like magic. More or less it fucking is. More or less it is. Here, we're going to make a switch back to the YouTubes. And I'm going to... It's a lot. This is intended to be insane, but have
you ever felt like options?
This is a guy just literally explaining gamma, so you can see what I'm talking about, and you can sit with it. I'm waiting for the gamma actually relates to real resources. No, it doesn't. But, ready? Capital and its value still determines what gets produced and how. It still determines that, even though it's now wholly disconnected from the productive process entirely. They're not buying houses because they go up in value over time. It's a safe thing to hold on to. The portfolios are about variability. And the gamma of those portfolios is how market makers are making money, and market makers are the ones buying.
Trading was just a drain on your.
They're not expecting a crash. It's worse than that. A crash would be bad for them. So would a good economy. Right now, for the last year, since Trump has been elected, but certainly the last 6 to 9 months, companies have no ability to predict what is happening or what they can plan out for 18 to 24 months from now. Insurance companies don't. Ask any of these people who are doing investments, anyone who's doing like tables of budgets for 2 years, they don't exist at these companies. They're trying. But like, how do you do it when tomorrow there might be tariffs, there might be taxes, there might be secondary charges here. Other companies and countries might incredibly fold or not. The predictability of the stock market is gone, effectively gone.
Your wallet. I know the feeling. Watching your trades lose value every day, all because of time decay. But then I discovered a game-changing strategy that turned those potential losses into profits. This strategy is called gamma scalping. And today I'm going to explain how.
So again, delta hedging has been a thing since arbitrage. It's not new. Gamma is the thing that is like when you're doing the math on it. Gamma is the second order derivative, and theta is the decay over time. This is the math that's always been there. The shift is we've taken and rotated it. So not only does it not matter what you're purchasing, but it doesn't matter what options there are, the direction they're going. Now it just matters the volatility itself.
How it works and how you can use it to protect your trades and actually make money, even when the market turns against you. Before we dive into gamma scalping, let's talk about why your options lose value. This
is actually, as much as the guy has an exceptionally punchable face. He does. It's not a bad explanation. Brooks, it's just calculus.
All due to something called time decay. As the expiration date of your options gets closer, the chances of them reaching the strike price become more certain, which means they lose value.
So when you buy an option, he's going to kind of explain this, but I just want to mention, buy an option. I am betting that the stock is going to go up, and my strike price I want to purchase it at is, it's at 100 now. I think it's going to go up to 105. And that thing that happens as it goes and as you hold it, your options become less valuable over time, because if it's not crashing or doing the opposite, the assumption is that there's a little bit more towards that. They lose value as the strike price becomes more certain.
This is a big problem, especially if you're holding long options. So what is gamma scalping? Gamma scalping is a strategy that option traders use to manage their positions and lock in profits from small price movements in the underlying stock.
He's fucking spot on. Small price movements.
The idea is to offset the losses caused by time decay by making small but profitable adjustments to your position as the stock price moves. Think of gamma scalping like steering a ship through changing winds.
I'm proud of myself for not using a single metaphor, by the way, this entire time. I hate analogies and metaphors, and I'm proud I didn't do that.
You're constantly changing your sails.
To be clear, gamma trading is still dependent on short-term trading. Oh, yeah, they need retailers as part of it. Like you can't just do gamma trading in a bubble. They need retailers. They need people doing speculation. But this is the thing. They're making a big push towards being able to basically bet on anything, which means they're going to have gamma scalping on anything. When people can buy short or longs on their own debt, which they can right now in various apps. That means there's someone somewhere automating the system of delta hedging and gamma scalping against that. They're going to ruin everything. They're going to ruin capitalism. But it's kind of amazing because it's literally what they wrote about in Anti-Oedipus. Literally. Like literally the derivative of the derivative. It's fucked up. It's the flux. Gamma is the thing that generates the flux in Anti-Oedipus. That is what gamma is. That's actually the mathematical setup. There's papers that have been written on this for 50 years that this is what Deleuze, this is literally the thing Deleuze didn't know he was talking about that they would eventually do. It's fucking crazy.
To catch the wind just right. In the market, you're making small trades to lock in profits and keep your position balanced. Identify your
Isn't this fictionalized capital? You're free to explain to me the difference.
position. Let's say you own 10 call options with a strike price of $50 and the stock is currently trading at 55. Since each option contract controls 100 shares, your 10 call options give you control over 1,000 shares. If these options cost you 50 cents per contract, your total investment is $500. With the stock trading above your strike price, your options have intrinsic value, putting you in a very strong position. Make adjustments. As the stock price rises slightly, say to 57, you sell a small portion of shares, let's say 100 shares, to grab some gains. This sale is not about locking in a huge profit, but about making small adjustments that add up over time. By selling at 57, you generate $5,700. And then if the stock drops back to 55, you can buy back those 100 shares at a lower price and lock in that small $200 profit. As the stock continues to fluctuate, you continue making these small adjustments, selling more shares as the price rises and then buying them back as it drops. This way, you're scalping small profits repeatedly, which helps to offset the time decay that's eating away at your options value unexpectedly. This company announces an SEC investigation.
Does gamma trading require predicting the market in the short term? So for retail, yes. But if you're a market maker, this guy's not, again, this is a step. Market makers are the ones doing this too. And they're able to see when he's doing his buys and sells, he's doing the orders through a market maker who's able to see what he's doing and able to adjust and hedge on the fly before his call, before anything he's doing is executed in order to adjust for the market. This is the most rigged that a game is. This is the most rigged a game can be. Blackjack is less rigged in a casino. Three-card Monty on the streets of New York is about like this.
The stock price plummets to $32. Here's where gamma scalping proves its worth. Because you sold shares as the stock price was rising, you've already locked in some profits. But now, as the stock price drops to 32, you can buy back the shares at a much lower price, effectively capturing additional profits from those sales. Here's how it breaks down. You sold 100 shares at 57, generating $5,700. If you buy back those 100 shares at 32, you spend only $3,300, leaving you with a $2,500 profit from this adjustment. Even if your call options lost value, the profits you made from these adjustments can help offset those losses. And remember, this strategy started with just a $500 investment. This scenario.
And again, if all things were equal, I'd still think this is shitty and weird and gambly. But he is unaware, or he's aware and doesn't care, that market makers are aware of this and doing it. Am I successful? No. I'm not successful in any of this capitalist shit. Are you kidding me?
Highlights how gamma scalping
Family's been on fucking Snap for the last 9 months. You kidding me?
can protect your portfolio, even during unexpected downturns.
But again, he's not successful in gamma trading either. Let's see. Let's go see if he was successful in gamma trading, or if his videos are basically identical. Yeah, it's less views and the same guy. So he's making just a ton of money.
By making these small adjustments, you've locked in profits and created a buffer against sudden drops. Even if your call options loses all of its value, the gains from your adjustments can easily cover those losses. Given that you started with just $500, the profit potential is significant. As this situation unfolds, you can choose to close out your entire position, either holding onto your call for a potential recovery.
So if you're not following, it doesn't matter if it goes up or down. The direction of the stock is irrelevant. Gamma scalping profits on the volatility itself. When the markets move violently, if you didn't notice that violent move of $57 to $32, where there are people in fucking bankrupt because of whatever the fuck move this happened, he came out ahead. This is how. This is the thing. It's transforming derivatives from a directional bet to pure volatility as a function. And this works, by the way, on equities. This works in bonds. It works in crypto. The math foundations are across all of it. Gamma is the thing. It measures the convexity. That convexity is like its own fucking nightmare as a thing, but convexity creates profit from disorder. That's the function of it. And it's really tough to sort of think through and understand it because it's literally built, and I don't know another way to describe it, because it is broken. Is this the GameStop saga? Yes. So I didn't understand this. I mean, I'd watched the documentaries, I had the blah, blah lawsuits, but there's an interesting paper that came out of Columbia because the SEC was like, oh no, it's no big deal. And Columbia came out and they're like, actually there is. And we think you need to investigate. And they talked about weaponized gamma. It's the phrase they used in the paper talking about GameStop specifically. This is the thing, because the market makers in between were able to know what was happening at any point and adjust as to be needed. To be successful, you need to know how the market is changing because you're the one changing it through many investments. Yes, you don't need to know how the market's changing. You just set up things so that way as things happen, as people are buying, you're doing the counter in order to make sure you make money off of it. That's it. If you're a market maker, you just enjoy being that middleman. And again, the volatility itself, second order derivative shit, which I'm too stupid generally to understand, but this one I kind of get. It's fucked up. Yes, people are literally profiting off of nervous twitches or impulse buys of stock or impulse sells of stock. They don't give a fuck because the option isn't the point. The second order is. It's leeching off retail investors. Don't say just. It's, you want to talk about what this is? Huh? When we talk about exploitation, Marx style, Marxist exploitation of the working class, what value is being put into the world that's being most exploited? I would argue at this point, retail investors like this guy, like other people, there's a lot of them who are taking capital that they probably haven't earned, but they're capitalists. That's fine. They're putting it into the stocks. They're buying options. They're doing this thing. And the middleman's exploiting that. They're also being exploited by capitalists. Are day traders the proletariat? Depends on the system of capital. Without retail, they can't do this. Sure. Unless they switch to something else. It's still surplus value. That will not change. Well, that's the other thing that's really terrifying to me that I'm trying to figure out. Because the thing that has killed all these others is the way that illiquidity crashes into it. Because liquidity is the ability for people to literally just have cash. Like you go buy things, sell things, whatever. The runs on banks happened because banks weren't liquid enough. They didn't have enough money to cover their, it's like when It's when a bookie comes to you and says, you fucking owe me $100,000 because you bet against the Harlem Globetrotters. And you're like, what the fuck? Well, I don't have any money right now. I have a house. And that's illiquidity. Illiquidity seizes the system up. How do you have an illiquid moment in this system? I actually don't know. And because an illiquid moment in the derivatives market makes sense, because when people lose faith in whatever asset is being sold, which they did, credit default swaps and all that, the cascade begins. When people can't pay, the cascade begins. The illiquidity is built in. But this actually works to the advantage of gamma scalping because it's uncertain. I think you could argue it comes to a CMC, but I think there's an interesting argument to be made that we're starting to see less of the M, or that the M is shifting in what it means. I think it's interesting. That's why people are wrong when they talk about a crash and the end game as a melt up. I actually can't think of how gamma scalping fails. Like I'm not going to say it's still fiat money. You don't think they're doing this? This is literally happening on every major exchange for Bitcoin and Ethereum and every meme coin there is. It's the same thing. Like gamma scalping all of these things are market makers. I mean, they're all these tokens are now building their own market. They own the whales in these things. It's absolutely that. It's still happening. Functions a bit differently. Sure. Does gamma scalping itself produce or potentiate uncertainty? I don't know. Well, so I would say it probably doesn't on its own. But the thing is, when you start, when you build in a natural reward mechanism for rewarding uncertainty, things get in line. Because capital, again, determines what the meaning of things is and what the value of things is at any other point. So when it becomes the center, financial systems organize around that in order to make money, and people organize around that to make money, and people organize around that to make money. And it's one of the reasons that it doesn't matter what a company produces anymore. They don't have to make anything. Tesla it's not a meme stock. Meme stock is a pointless term. It's like ha ha ha. But that's like presuming that it's just a long bet. I don't think so. I think there's fundamentally different things shifting in a different way. This would happen if it were on the gold standard. We wouldn't get to this point on the gold standard. So I think exploitation on YouTube is way worse. Well, if you do, then stop exploiting me. And please head over to Patreon, patreon.com/TGQC. Give a few bucks a month, send a super chat, all those fun things. We're gambling on odds. Yes, we're gambling on the variability in the gambling on the odds. Yeah. And it's just incredible to like even try to make sense of any of it. Because it's like, for me, fundamentally, it's been very difficult to make sense of the entire thing because it's so very, very different than I think how I understood a lot of these things to function. So inclusion is for retail. This is a dead end. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know what this means. I'm fairly confident in my understanding of what this is and how it works and how it organizes things within the economy. And things click for me into understanding like everything else. It's like, oh, this is uncertainty is running things. This is what they want. This is what they're driving at. They're making fortunes off of it. And so their incentive is to continue to allow this very particular type of structure. And again, it's not an awareness of a thing any more than the capitalists were aware of like how they were taking advantage of bond markets, like not in the sense of that at like a meta level. Thank God Steam is not a public company. I blame Steam for this. You kidding? Steam's gambling markets basically primed an entire generation to do exactly this kind of shit. Steam is an incredibly unethical company, genuinely globally unethical, and has been used for incredibly large amounts of money laundering for billionaires and drug lords, and teaching kids to gamble and just awful predatory practices. Like they're absolutely part of this. That's the way that's awful. And I say that as someone who plays Dota 2 and all their games actively and still gives them money. That's the way it works. Roblox has a stock market. Well, this is the thing, is like the process we're talking about at the fundamental level is that assets at some point become tradable securities. Pick an asset. They become a portfolio, or they become something that can be securitized. And this is a crypto does this in its own way, but take houses. They get put into portfolios. You don't put a house on the stock market, but Bitcoin, for example, was on the stock market, not as Bitcoin, but as Bitcoin holding companies, where companies would sell their stock and people could buy and sell stock against the value of Bitcoin by paying like 2x or like $1 extra for every $2. It was the weirdest shit, but that shit was huge for a long time. It didn't work out in the long run. But assets become things that can be tradable. And then like those flows of the economy, and these is flows, I do mean flows in the sense these things, stocks, become derivatives. And these are processes of deterritorialization at a basic level, because now we're at the point where derivatives are almost meta derivatives. It's second order. This is how you move from options to gammas. It's a derivative of derivative. It's a second order derivative, which is fucking crazy. And all of this is basically simplified into a core axiomatic, the equation that sets up how delta hedging works and where gamma, theta, and delta collide. And so these formal relationships between these quantities enable this flux to be directly invested in with capital. There's no reference to underlying use value, no reference to underlying industrial value. The trading directly is dx over dy. It's trading the industrial capital under capital, like a fictional capital, secondary capital. The actual company, its workers, everything it does, it doesn't matter. You're in differential relations purely. Like this is literally Anti-Oedipus chapter 3, but they were just explicating the way they saw it working. But this is like insane. All of this means no one cares how no you find the cashier, asks if you want to credit a card. Your credit doesn't matter either. None of that matters anymore. None of that matters anymore. None of that matters anymore. It's just fucking broken. It's the differential relation between fluxes and variability itself. Am I pro debt maxing? I'm not pro anything, nor do I give any financial advice. I mostly just slowly learn things and then recoil in horror. It's this has been a really weird thing to sort of learn about. Because I genuinely somewhat know about this stuff. Like I've done, a friend got me to do day trading at one point. At one point I had a company. I did crypto for a little bit. Like I'm not ashamed of these things. I don't do that. That's not the thing. So it's like the way that capital movements deal with things measurably, the flux of things is so central to, like, there's so much going on with all of this, and it's just horrifying. It just breaks me. Sorry, this just like breaks me. What happens when this destroys capitalism? I don't know if it will. I need to understand, and I don't. And if someone smarter than me has an idea of how you find illiquidity in the system like this, the closest it comes is like if retail stops investing. But that's a very particular type of thing, because the same work needs to be done when people are betting on how many Palestinians are going to be killed on some fucking shitty app. They're not betting. Like, you know this, right? That's not what it is. You're not betting and getting odds. It's not like, you're doing bookie work on a fucking sports game. That's not the setup here. The fundamental thing you're doing is buying tokens and shorting or going, people are short and go long on those. You're trading stocks. Exactly. So if retail investors go away, just move them to the gambling apps. And it's the same companies doing this shit, because they still have market makers doing that, and they're able to see who's betting what, and they're taking part in it as well. I don't. Yeah, we're cooked. I don't have a good ending to this. I don't have a good ending to this. It's just, because it's like, so, okay, a couple of you clearly have a better understanding. So I'm going to ask a question. To me, as I understand the options market is fundamentally not liquid. Like, as I understand it, that stock markets have liquidity because stocks are ultimately fungible. Every share of Apple is exchangeable for every other share of Apple. There's a homogeneity in any purchase. So if someone wants to buy Apple stock, the seller has Apple stock. They don't need Apple stock 75, right? But options themselves aren't liquid. So if I have a call on Apple stock that expires Friday, it's not the same as another call on Apple stock that expires Tuesday. So every unique options contract is fundamentally heterogeneous. So buyers and sellers can't be matched. Shorts and longs can't be matched. There's no homogeneity. So there's a structural break in this that seems like a contradiction within the system. I wonder if anyone's talked about such things. Because, like, I'm going to say, without retail investors being able to count on stable growth to make money, market makers offer some kind of playpen. I mean, I don't know. Like, this is the thing that's like, as we're seeing this, the literal push right now for the multitude of gambling apps that are run by these same companies and are massive financialized instruments. That's not a quirk. That's because we've fundamentally changed what we're betting on. We're fundamentally changing. And also the ability to do second order derivatives in one of those gambling markets. You tell me, if you wanted to make money and be a ghoul, which isn't hard these days, would you bet on Palestine not having starvation, Palestine having starvation, or would you bet on the gamma that no one will know and constantly be hedging? You tell me. Well, I just made myself really sad. Well, that's the darkest thing I've ever thought about. Yeah, it's dark, Magenta. That's. I would suspect the market makers have a way of connecting buyers and sellers, like on those. They're fundamentally not fungible. This is the thing. It's a heterogeneous market at a base level. So what you need to do is you need to develop what is the homogenization of the heterogeneous series and turn that into another vehicle. That made me even more depressed. Because it's like, we have a stock market because people have ideas for companies. It started in that place. It's like, hey, I've got a thing I want to do. I've got a cool way to make X, Y, and Z. For example, Brooks, I've spent 5 to 7 years trying to figure out how to make it so I can do fried chicken to order. This is, by the way, a serious thing. I got it down to about 1.5 minutes, which is, by the way, awesome. It's a process, difficult process, takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of preparation, but at 1.5 minutes for fried chicken, amazing, amazing. If you didn't know, it's about 7 to 9 minutes for fried chicken everywhere you go. It's a good process. I want to start a business. Someone goes, oh, okay, well, you need a bunch of capital to do that. We have this counter here you can serve out of. You need this stuff. You need these suppliers. You need all these things. I need capital to do this in our system or in any system. How do I do that? Well, the old system was the king would go, yes, you may do that. And then I get none of the profits. I don't get to own anything. I don't get to have anything. I just do it. Or someone comes along and just gives me the money, but they own it. Selling stocks, selling bonds gives a level of ownership to people down the road. It may convert into ownership, but it's a debt instrument. So they're taking a risk on me. I'm taking a risk with them, and it goes its way. I'm able to pay for a company. Companies are not a bad thing. Sorry, I'm not going to say that they're a bad thing fundamentally. They're just not. So we need that. And market makers serve a purpose. You can't just have the direct back and forth. I get it. I get why they still need to be there. It is a legitimate service, because if someone is there who wants to make these purchases and wants to do these things without any market makers, without sellers, there's no way to do trading unless that thing is available at that moment. Market can't function without it. It has to be part of it. And all this math comes with it. So it's valuable, but done cynically. Once again, it's just wild. But this depressed me to an extreme level. Yeah, it sucked. Small business owner, it sucks. I do it because I can't function in corporate environment. Join the club. I've had a couple companies. This is an LLC. You should have an LLC, by the way, in America especially. It keeps you, free of certain liabilities. It's pretty nice. Could it be regulated out? All of this can be regulated, but it doesn't fix the system. Because again, the center core of what capitalism is about, that flux, which is now surfacing. It's surfacing, which is insane. It's surfacing. They're actually directly investing in DX over DY, the value of DX over DY, or the derivative of DX over DY, I should say, which is fucking wild. That thing, you can't go back. Oh, we're not going to live in Cruelty Squad. That would be lovely. 2 minutes. That would be lovely. Cruelty Squad would be great. I wish. I don't think we're going to get anything that fun. I think it's going to be worse than that. All right. Who's live? Is anyone live, or am I going to send you to fucking nowhere? Give me people who are alive. Somebody give me people who are alive. Give me live people so I can send you, because I gotta take a break. This is too much for me. This is a lot, and I'm too tired. Just too tired. This is too much. Oh, look, I'm live. And nobody. All right. Well, then. Is there anything with connection with this? Deleuze I will be putting things in the QC. Join the QC. Discord.gg/DGQC. We do a lot of readings. I'll be sharing this with everybody. I'm going to be posting stuff. I've got a whole bunch of papers I've been reading and books. Desync. I don't know who that is. You know what? Half-Life 2 works. Half-Life 2 works. Desync works. So I'll be sending you there. Give love. That'll be fun. If you do like what I do and support what I do, want to support more as I sort of start figuring out what to do more with this project, head over to Patreon. Patreon.com/DGQC. Cup of coffee a month does a fucking wonder. Fucking wonder. Fucking wonder. But with that, tomorrow's Klosowski. Noonish, if we can. Might be a little bit later. I'm not sure. We're figuring it out. And I'll see you guys, all of you, soon enough.